Good morning and welcome to the Christabelle Spiritual Church. So good to see all of you here today. Before I go any further, can you please shut off your phones or electronic devices? Thank you. Also, since we are socially distanced, if you would like to take off your mask, feel free to. If you'd prefer to keep it on, that's fine as well. Let us begin our service today by ringing the bell. Do we have any volunteers?
Looks like we got.
Wonderful. Kind of give it a pull and let it go. There you go.
Now you got it.
Wonderful. We ring the bell to signal to Spirit that we are ready to enjoy our time together. Before we move into the more formal part of our church service today, we do have several announcements to talk about. Our next church board meeting is scheduled for May 2nd, and any members of the church are welcome to attend. Please come and be a part of the direction of our church. I'm sure our board members would be very open to any suggestions you may have to help bring our church forward and reach as many people as possible in a loving, compassionate way. Our spring cleanup day is scheduled for this coming Saturday, May 1st. Let's all pitch in to help get our wonderful grounds ready for summer. If you are interested in helping out, please see Deb or Barb after church today. We would also appreciate any help that you could give throughout the year as well. Wednesday, May 12th, will be our Wednesday evening spirit greeting service. Everyone in attendance will receive a reading. We'll start at 6:30 p.m. and go until everyone has been read. Cost is $20 per person, and we are limited to 20 people, so sign up early. You can either do so through Facebook or by getting in touch with our pastor, Mark. Rummage sale. We are making preparations for our church to have a rummage sale on June 4th, 5th, and 6th. If you have anything you'd like to donate, please bring it in some Sunday, and we will see to it that it helps. We will see that it gets put in the sale. Deb is looking for volunteers to help set everything up in advance, as well as helping to get everything priced. Volunteers also very welcome that weekend. We have the event up on our church Facebook page, so please feel free to share it. We'd love to see a very big turnout this weekend, or that weekend. We are always welcoming volunteers to help out on Sunday to usher, as well as fill the chairperson on the platform, hence why I am here. Of course, we will train you on etiquette, etc. If you are interested in serving the church in this capacity, please see Pastor Mark after the service ends today. If you are interested in signing up to volunteer as a healer on an upcoming Sunday, please let Pastor Mark know. This way we can make sure that we always have someone available prior to church services. We would ideally like to have at least 2 healers for each Sunday. For anyone who would rather provide their offerings online rather than in cash, we also have a church virtual offering plate that is available not only on our Facebook page, but also on our church's website as well. Anything that you can add to the offering plate really is greatly appreciated. All right. Now, if you would, please bow your head for the reading of our invocation this morning. Infinite Spirit, We stand in this sacred space with our hearts overflowing with gratitude and joined by a desire for peace, love, and understanding of our laws. We give thanks for the most perfect day, for this new opportunity to rejoice with each other and with our loved ones in spirit, knowing that we are not alone in our pain or in our joy. We give thanks individually and as a spiritual community for all of our blessings. May our spirit family members and friends continue to inspire us, and may love, harmony, and infinite spirit be our unwavering companions as we continue on our journey. O loving God, amen. The essence of spiritualism can be wrapped up in 9 statements. We call these statements the Declaration of Principles. At this time, please open your hymnal to the inside cover and read aloud with me the Declaration of Principles. We believe in infinite intelligence. We believe that the phenomena of nature, both physical and spiritual, are the essence of intelligence. We affirm that a correct understanding of such expressions and living in accordance therewith constitute true religion. We affirm that the existence and personal identity of the individual continue after the change called death. We affirm that communication with the so-called dead is a fact scientifically proven by the phenomenon of spiritualism. We believe that the highest morality is contained in the Golden Rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. We affirm the moral responsibility of individuals and that we make our own happiness or unhappiness as we obey or disobey nature's physical and spiritual laws. We affirm that the doorway to reformation is never closed against any soul here or hereafter. We affirm that the precepts of prophecy and healing are divine attributes proven through mediumship. Let us begin the healing portion of our church service today. At this time, I will now read the healing list of absent friends and family. After I finish reading the healing list, feel free to say the names of anyone not present who you would like to add to the list. Joanne, Ruth, Ashley, Alan, Delilah, Bayan, JC, Casey, Jake, Fanglin. If I said that correctly, I apologize. And if you have any names that you'd like to say now, please do.
Casey Nelson and Stephanie Crawford.
We will now play our healing hymn for today. Please turn your hymnals to hymn number 159, My Eyes That I May See.
Wonderful key, that shall unclasp and
join with me in concluding the healing portion of our church service with the reading aloud of the prayer for spiritual healing. It can be found on the inside back cover of your hymn. I ask the great unseen healing force to remove all obstacles from my mind and body and to restore me to perfect health. I ask this in all sincerity and honesty, and I will do my part. I ask this great unseen healing force to help both present and absent ones who are in need of help and to restore them to perfect health. I put my trust in the power of God. Our sermon today will be presented by our own student pastor, Mark.
Sorry, I tried to warn you.
I know. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. How are we doing today? Good to see all of you out here. Okay, let me make sure. Okay. What are little boys made of? Snips and snails and puppy dogs' tails. That's what little boys are made of. What are little girls made of? Sugar and spice and everything nice. That's what little girls are made of. And maybe just a dash of, special chemical X just for good measure. Sorry, Powerpuff Girls joke. How many of you have heard those old nursery rhymes before? I'm pretty sure everybody's heard them, right? Yeah. I know that in today's cultural climate, they may not necessarily be the most appropriate anymore. They may be a bit outdated now, but it kind of got me wondering. Spirit put those two nursery rhymes in my head, and it really got me wondering, what are spiritualists made of? Now, let's go on to ponder that for the next minute or 15 or so, shall we? I think that starting with the definition of what a spiritualist is according to the National Spiritualist Association of Churches, it really does kind of happen to be a great jumping off point for us. So, are you ready? Here we go. A spiritualist is one who believes as the basis of his or her religion in the communication between this and the spirit world by means of mediumship and who endeavor to mold his or her character in conduct with accordance with the highest teachings derived from such communications. That's very formal, isn't it? But you know what? I do think that, like I said, I feel it's a good jumping off point. But I really do feel that as accurate as that definition might be, it's a great overview, but it really doesn't address the nuance of what it is to be a spiritualist. It just kind of, the structure's there, but it kind of needs some, flourish. It needs a little something to it. Now, we have the definition of a spiritualist as I just read it to you. But what does that all mean in the context of the great triune that is the science, philosophy, and religion of spiritualism? Beginning with the science of spiritualism, essentially that means that each and every one of us spiritualists that are sitting here today, I was going to say standing, but some of us are. Each one of us that is sitting here today, we are a scientist. We are a scientific researcher. And I see some skeptical looks, but no, really, we are. Let me explain. Hear me out for just a second. Off the top of your heads, how many of you remember your admission to fellowship ceremony? For those who may not remember what that is, that's the ceremony where you officially became a member of this church. As a refresher, it's when you stood before the church members and your pastor and asked the question, have you tested to the satisfaction of your own mind the sublime truth of spirit communication and accepted it as a means for the upliftment of humanity? What did you think in that moment? Now, I'm pretty sure that you were either thinking about all the people that were sitting behind you watching you, or maybe how exciting it was that you were now getting to be a part of this church. But I have a feeling that the last thought in all your minds was, hey, this means I'm a scientist. Am I right? Kind of had a feeling. Let me explain what I mean by that, though. According to the Science Council, a scientist is defined as someone who systematically gathers and uses research and evidence to make hypotheses and test them to gain and share understanding and knowledge. I mean, doesn't that kind of sound like what we're doing? I mean, briefly, every Sunday that we are here in our chapel, can anyone think of something that we do to help gather evidence in order to gain and share understanding and knowledge? Anybody? No? Thank you. You get a sunflower pin. See me after service. And I owe Jennifer one from last week because she left before I could give it to her. Whenever we provide a demonstration of mediumship, we are gathering evidential information that is meant to share understanding and knowledge. Make sense? Yeah? Okay. Now, briefly, in addition to the gathering of evidential information and testing that information to prove its accuracy, we also study the law while we are here in church. Granted, it's natural law, but it's not just a good idea, it's the law. Natural law, or nature's laws, are also a part of the science of spiritualism. If we were not looking to have a deeper understanding of natural law and how to work with it, we would not have a science in addition to a philosophy and a religion. Oh, and yes, just a heads up, natural law will fit into every category of that great triune that we will be speaking about today. So now that we kind of have an understanding of how being a scientist is actually part of being a spiritualist, what about philosophy? Could being a philosopher really be part of what makes us a spiritualist and makes up a spiritualist? Yes. Yes, it can. Now, I know that it has been a while since I've quoted Merriam-Webster in one of my sermons, but there's no time like the present, right? According to my favorite sermon source, a person who studies ideas about knowledge, truth, the nature and meaning of life, etc., is a philosopher. Do we ever do that here in church? No, we never do that, do we? We don't ever talk about those trivial things like truth, justice, and the spiritualist way. Oh, wait, that's not how that goes. I think you get the idea, though, right? I hope so. Here's the NSAC definition of the philosophy of spiritualism. Spiritualism is a philosophy because it studies the laws of nature, both on the seen and unseen sides of life, and bases its conclusions upon present observed facts. It accepts statements of observed facts of past ages and conclusions drawn therefrom when sustained by reason and results of observed facts of the present day. Yup. That really is quite a statement, isn't it? I mean, it really is. But let me break that down for you for just a minute. A spiritualist does study both the physical world and the spiritual one. I mean, after all, we believe that the phenomena of nature, both physical and spiritual, are the expression of infinite intelligence, don't we? How do we come by that belief? By studying those laws of nature, understanding and applying those laws in our daily lives. So how do we do that exactly? We do that through our Spiritualist Declaration of Principles. Quite simply, the Declaration of Principles gives us an understanding of how to live within nature's laws. Use the template that has been provided by those spiritualists who have come before us in order to help us make our lives go more smoothly. And now, we're not quite done yet with the philosopher portion of being a spiritualist because we haven't fully addressed everything in the NSAC definition of the philosophy of spiritualism. It accepts statements of observed facts of past ages and conclusions drawn therefrom when sustained by reason and by results of observed facts of the present day. In other words, spiritualism looks to other cultures from the past and finds truth in the observations that they have made about the nature of this plane of existence as well as the next one. Time to jump into the not-so-way-back machine with Mr. Peabody and Sherman for just a minute. I'm going to draw on a few past sermons just to refresh your memory. Let's begin with our church's dreams sermon. where we spoke about how the ancient Greeks, they saw dreams as having 3 basic types. Or what about our planting seeds sermon? That one's a personal favorite of mine, actually. We've spoke about 6 degrees of modern spiritualism and how Galen, Emanuel Swedenborg, John Chapman, and Mr. Andrew Jackson Davis all contributed to our understanding of the philosophy of spiritualism. And I'm hoping y'all remember those. Now, I'd also be completely remiss if I didn't bring up our 2 wolves and our Marquis hierarchy of spiritualism sermons, because both of those highlighted some of the Native American beliefs regarding philosophy that actually relates directly to spiritualist thoughts as well. In addition, one of the biggest things that makes up a spiritualist is our understanding of infinite intelligence or spirit. According to the NSAC Spiritualist Manual, infinite intelligence pervades and controls the universe. It is omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent, without shape or form, and is impersonal. Basically, what that means is this. Spirit, or infinite intelligence, is part of everything and is an all-powerful force that is not personally involved in what is happening in your life. It is not an anthropomorphic paternal figure on a golden throne. And I know I've spoken about that before. But I want to make this point very clearly. When I say that infinite intelligence is part of everything, that includes us as well. Infinite intelligence is not something that is in any way separate from us. We are spirit, and spirit is us. I am spirit, and spirit is me. You know, actually, that makes a pretty good mantra for a reminder of that. I know that we have talked about this in the past, but part of the philosophy that makes up a spiritualist is the understanding that anything that happens in this life or the next is a progression of natural law, even if we aren't fully able to understand how it's all working together yet. Gave you a lot of information, didn't I? Okay, so I've already spoken not so briefly about what makes a spiritualist in conjunction with being a scientist and a philosopher, but following the example set forth by both of those, what about the religion of spiritualism? How does all of this tie into what makes a spiritualist? Well, for one thing, without the religion portion of that triune, there would be no spiritualism. Anybody else remember that sermon on the Great Triune of Spiritualism? I had fun with that. Anyhow, without the religious portion, we'd have no triune. Since I've been speaking all morning about the formal definitions of each part of spiritualism, why stop now? You ready? Spiritualism is a religion because it strives to understand and comply with the physical, mental, and spiritual laws of nature, which are the laws of God. That one seems like a pretty straightforward definition to me, though. I mean, and after all, isn't that what brings each of us here on Sundays? At least in part, we are all seeking to understand and work within nature's laws. And there it is again, natural law, or nature's laws. It's almost like working with nature's laws is important for some reason, don't you think? Anyway, maybe just a little bit. Theology, or the study of religion, in this case spiritualism, is just one important part of what spiritualists are made of. Every day, we study the religion of spiritualism through our understanding of natural law and through our declaration of principles. As you are all aware, the religion of spiritualism provides a wonderfully safe, loving, compassionate place for each of us open-minded, stubbornly skeptical, scientific philosophers to enjoy the company of other like-minded spiritualists. And that is where this wonderful Christabelle Spiritualist Church can come in. It's a place for all of us to celebrate the scientist, philosopher, and theologian within each of us. Personally, I do like to think we do a great job of that up here every week, but that's just me. So, as you go forth this week, I want you to all do me a favor. You remember those nursery rhymes I recited at the very beginning of this sermon? Do me a favor. I want you to all come up with your own "what are spiritualists made of" type of rhyme in the same style as those two that I'd recited at the beginning. If you can do that for me, then at the end of church next week, I will recite everyone's rhymes. And please keep it PG. But let's make this a fun little exercise. Can you do that? Can you come up with a rhyme of what our Spiritualists made of? And for those of you watching from your virtual congregation locations, feel free to comment with your rhymes down below this sermon on YouTube or message us on Facebook with them. Now, I can't wait to see what all of you come up with. I really can't. But I know that it's going to be better than anything I can come up with. Oh, yeah, before I forget, we started this sermon with those nursery rhymes. Now, I do think it's only fitting that we conclude this sermon with one. What do you think? Should I give you guys an example of what I'm talking about for what makes a spiritualist?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to end my sermon with a spiritualist version of our nursery rhyme that is one that I actually came up with while I was procrastinating doing the essay portion of my Morris Pratt course. Ready? Here we go. What are spiritualists made of? Body and soul and spirits that are whole. That's what spiritualists are made of. Now remember, next week, it's your turn. Thank you. Get that out of the way. There we go.
All right, at this time, I ask the ushers to come forward for the collection of offering. Let us bow our head in prayer. Infinite Spirit, we give thanks for these gifts so generously given. Without these gifts, we cannot grow. We ask a blessing for what is shared with us today and a special blessing for the givers. May they continue seeing the law of abundance in their lives. We dedicate these gifts to the future of our church and to spiritualism. Amen.
We did virtual.
It's nice that we have that option.
What, virtual?
Yes.
Yeah, because everything is on cards now.
Yeah, no one really has cash on them very often.
I'm so glad to hear that people like that, because that was something I had to work to do.
Now we begin our spirit greeting portion of today's service. Please let us stand and sing hymn number 162, Spirit Calls Us. raise the vibration of our congregation and this chapel to make it easier for Spirit to reach out to us. Thank you. You may be seated, as you already are. It is customary to stand when receiving your message. If you would not like to receive a Spirit greeting message today, please remain seated and say no thank you. Our mediums will move on to the next person. Our Spirit greeting will be provided by our one and only Mark. Thank you.
Morning, everybody.
If any of our messages that you received today truly speak to you, please fill out a membership affidavit. Thank you. Yes, the word is not wanting to come out of my mouth. Located in the back of our church. Our student mediums need these to become a certified medium with the NSAC. Our closing hymn for today will be number 174, Wonderful Words of Life. Please bow your head for our closing benediction. Or let's sing again. We close the service with the deepest gratitude for this day. We ask a blessing on all who have taken time to join us here. May we be ever learning, ever moving forward beyond the errors of the past and knowing we have an endless supply of new beginnings. Amen. This concludes our Christabelle Spiritualist Church service for today. Thank you all and have a wonderful week ahead.